Welcome back to r/neighbors from hell, where people share stories about their crazy neighbors. And if you're new to my channel, please don't forget to subscribe to join our amazing community. And without any further ado, let's dive right into the stories. The first one is titled HOA Neighbor Squatted Next to My Home and Used the Property to Cook and Sell Drugs. So my assumptions of HOAs were that they were always in uppity nice neighborhoods. There are strict rules that everyone has to follow, and if you don't follow them, then you have to pay fines and or are kicked out. Well, do I have a crazy story for you guys today. So I moved into an HOA neighborhood. I only ever had to pay a few fines myself, although they were all stupid, and most of my neighbors were friendly. The HOA board members did not really bother me, but for some reason I had a real odd feeling about the HOA president. Do you know when you meet someone and you automatically don't trust them because their vibe is off? Yes, that was how I felt about the HOA president. I did not know what it was, but it turns out that my initial impression would end up being right. So here is the scoop. Months prior to this, one of the neighbors got evicted from his house. It sucks because this is a great neighborhood and all. The guy was months behind on rent and well, the rest is pretty self-explanatory. The house went up for rent and sale, but since the prices of these homes are pretty expensive, there is not a lot of people looking to move into them. This was apparent when the house sat vacant for months. But it was not as vacant as we thought it was. You see, the old tenant had moved back in, despite obviously not paying for rent or anything like that. I heard from another neighbor that this guy was now unemployed and selling drugs. I believed the unemployed part, but I did not believe the selling drugs part, until I saw it with my own eyes. Keep in mind that this guy was pretty sly. There was hardly ever any noise or light coming from the house, and we only knew he was squatting there because another neighbor saw him at 4 AM in the morning. Well, soon it became apparent that he was selling drugs. In the late hours of the night into the wee hours of the morning, people were coming in and out of that house. It made me feel extremely uncomfortable, and soon enough all of the neighbors began talking about it. We decided that we wanted to have a meeting with the HOA president and discuss what could be done to take care of this situation. I don't ever remember this guy being a bad neighbor, but it was clear now that he was doing illegal things to supplement his income, and all of these strange people were coming into our neighborhood. We did not feel safe. So we scheduled a meeting with the HOA president, and my mind was blown. This HOA president knew this guy pretty well, like they were on a friendly basis. And also he was aware that he was living in the house rent-free. He claimed that he was a good guy and that there was no way he was drug dealing. He said that he's just down on his luck right now and needs somewhere to stay until he gets enough cash to get another apartment or house. What? If he obviously is not employed, then where does he think the money is going to come from? Many neighbors were furious and said that this was only going to enable the tenant to push his luck even more. And they were right. Shortly after this board meeting, we noticed that packages and mail had been going missing. My wife worked from home, so the convenience of ordering online and having it delivered to our doorstep was important for us. Well, we had a Ring camera installed on our house after the board meeting, due to safety concerns obviously, and wouldn't you know it, we caught the tenant on our Ring camera stealing 2 Amazon packages off of our porch. I was furious, and now at this point in the story you are wondering why we have not called the police. To be quite frank, the police department of our city sucks, so there's that. However, one of our neighbors had been preparing evidence in order to turn into the police. She had video evidence, pictures, etc. that could cause an investigation if she turned it into the police. And well, that is what she did, and what we found out was even more shocking than the guy squatting in the house. So our kind neighbor filed a police report for suspicious activity, and thankfully the police were able to launch an investigation into what was going on at the house. And guess what they found out? That yes, the guy was indeed selling drugs, but not just selling drugs, he was cooking them himself too, in the house. inside our neighborhood. And not only that, but the HOA president was also in on it. What? I knew from the beginning the HOA president was not a good guy, but damn, this just blew my mind. These two ended up getting arrested and the neighbor that collected evidence ended up getting voted in as the new HOA president. Obviously, the old guy could not be an HOA president from jail anymore. Anyways, this was one of the wildest things I've ever experienced. I never expected this from an HOA community. I am biased, but come on, can nobody just behave? And ripe stars, if you still enjoy the crazy HOA stories, then please don't forget to post some star emojis in the comments if you want to support my channel and enjoy the daily uploads. Thank you so much in advance, your support is very much appreciated. And the next one is titled, Karen Lied to the Landlord. This story happened to me about 10 years ago, but my wife and friends and I still laugh about it to this day. Even though it led to a lot of distress at the time it happened, we never actually learned this Karen's name, but we refer to her as Thunderfoot, and you will see why. When I was 20, I moved into a one-bedroom apartment on the bottom floor of a small apartment complex, together with an older woman in her 40s to 60s living in the apartment above me. An important thing to know for context is that the landlord did not live or operate in the complex, they just managed it remotely from their home a few miles away and were never really on site unless they did an inspection. Almost immediately after I moved in, I began getting to know my next door neighbors, who were two very nice old ladies that liked me a lot, and I would often come over and chat with them. They warned me that the woman who lived above me had lived there for nearly a decade, and the entire time she had lived there, she had gotten every tenant who lived underneath her evicted within a matter of months. I figured if I just did not annoy her, I would be fine. I began noticing as soon as I moved in that the woman upstairs made a lot of noise as she walked, stomping her feet so loudly that they banged on my ceiling. This is why my friends and I started calling her Thunderfoot, not to her face but just joking with each other whenever we heard her stomping around. Ironically, if I so much as had my girlfriend or a friend or two over to watch a movie or play some games, even though we made sure to keep it down, and her stomping was much louder than us, our landlord kept calling me and telling me that she was calling the landlord and complaining that we were making too much noise. Pretty much the only interactions I personally had with Karen were when she would poke her head out her window and yell at me and my friends and girlfriend for smoking cigarettes out on the sidewalk, where we were perfectly allowed to smoke. We were not even under her window, we were across the parking lot. Other than that, she did not talk to me, but she would call our landlord and make up the strangest things. It started with telling the landlord that we were making too much noise when we were deliberately being quiet, and then telling them that I was throwing big crazy parties when I was not throwing any parties at all, and then claiming the cigarettes we were smoking outside were really joints. Then she escalated to claiming really weird things like that my friends and I were climbing into my apartment through my windows. Who the hell would even do that, and why? I tried to tell my landlord none of these things were happening and even told them about her stomping, but they refused to listen to me and they believed everything she said. The landlord gave me a warning after warning and threatened to have Thunderfoot call the cops on me, and I eventually got to the point where I would not let any friends come over anymore just to be safe. Even my girlfriend only came over occasionally and we were very quiet. This whole time I was friendly with my other neighbors who assured me they never heard any noise coming from my apartment or had any problem with me, but apparently Thunderfoot complained like this to the landlord about every single tenant who has ever lived under her, and the landlord always believed her. Eventually, one of my neighbors told me about a very strange incident that happened when I was not even home. One day while I was at school, my neighbor saw Thunderfoot talking to a police officer right outside my apartment and telling him my friends and I were making too much noise in there. Apparently, she had filed a noise complaint when nobody was even there. The officer told her he did not hear anything, but just to be sure, he knocked on the door and looked in the windows. He told Thunderfoot that there did not seem to be anyone home, but she told him, "I know they are in there, I can hear them laughing." My neighbor said the officer just looked very confused and then left, probably thinking she was just crazy. After all these complaints, my landlord evicted me after living there for only 4 months. My other neighbors told me they were very sad to see me go, and they enjoyed having me around while I was there. And then they reassured me it was not my fault, as Thunderfoot did this exact same thing to everyone. She just did not want anyone living under her, maybe because she just wanted to stomp around without anyone complaining or judging her. Here is a funny end to the story though. At one point while I was living there, my friends and I were laughing about Thunderfoot one day after we heard her stomping again, so I drew a picture of an angry Sasquatch-like creature and wrote Thunderfoot on it. Then I put it up on my fridge. After I moved out, I realized I forgot to take that picture down. I just laughed picturing the landlord inspecting my apartment and finding that picture on the fridge. Edit for clarity, one of my neighbors told me they did vouch for me and told the landlord I was not causing any problems, but the landlord would not listen to anyone but Thunderfoot. That neighbor told me she heard a rumor that Thunderfoot and the landlord had been close friends for years, so the landlord was always catering to her. And for people asking why I did not fight it, dude, I was 20 years old and freshly out of my parents' house. And the next one is titled, My Driveway Does Not Belong to You. About 3 months ago, we had some new neighbors move in and they started a daycare out of their home. The kids really haven't been as much of an issue as I was expecting, aside from some occasional noise. The parents on the other hand, oh god, the parents. It started with this one dude, let's call him Jim. Jim liked to park in our driveway, not really an issue at first, he was usually only there for a few minutes and my housemate works in the mornings so his car is not there. However, housemate switched to evening shifts about a month in and his beat up Crown Vic proudly took up his half of the driveway. Jim did not like this, no he did not. There was a Crown Vic in his parking spot, so he honked, made lots of noise, much to the shame of his 2 young boys. Now, me, not being insane, went outside to go see who was honking out front of our house at 8 AM, cue this exchange. Jim, you're in my spot. Me, this is my driveway? You can park in the street if you need to drop off your kids.
Don't tell me what to do, move your car, you're in my spot.
Me, alright, hold on, my keys are inside. At this point, I went inside and told my housemate what was going on, since he had blearily stumbled out into the living room in naught but his tartan pants to see what all the ruckus was about. About a minute went by and Jim, the patient and considerate soul he was, began honking again. Housemate and I decided to ignore him and make oatmeal. After a while the honking stopped and we assumed that was that. Oh, how wrong we were. 2 days go by with no sign of Jim. Our neighbors brought us an apology pie, which was delicious. They had apparently told him not to park in our driveway when he had started doing it, but he told them we said it was fine. We had never talked to him before the first incident. Day 3, I am again awoken by the delightful noise of honking. I look outside, it is Jim. My neighbors come outside and start talking to him. He is still honking. The kids see what is about to happen. Exit stage left. I come outside along with housemate who is again in only tartan pants. Jim,
you need to get out of my spot.
Housemate, nope, not today crazy. Jim keeps on honking. Housemate, I'm gonna call the cops OP. Me, tell them to bring a straight jacket and a fancy padded van and maybe a tow truck. Jim,
your pants make you look like an F-wit.
Housemate, only when I'm sucking D. At this point Jim had at least stopped honking. You would think he was trying to seduce a goose. He flipped us off and drove away, which was hysterical since we live in a cul-de-sac and he had to do an awkward 3-point turn before leaving. The police sent a squad car and we gave them what information we had, and they also talked to the neighbors as well as doing a wellness check on Jim's kids, who mostly just seemed embarrassed. They offered to send someone out the next morning and we agreed since we were tired of the noise. Side note, the officer said my housemate's pants were pretty sweet. The next day Jim showed up in his ugly sedan. He sat in his car and the honking began again. But this time, what joy, justice prevailed. Jim got arrested and now has to pay bail. Turns out he had a warrant out for his arrest for something else. I heard he assaulted a cashier or something, but I'm not sure how true that is. Mom picked the kids up from daycare and she did not demand to park in our driveway. We have not seen them since. I know he is out of jail since the cops told us to call them if he shows up and does his goose impression again, but so far no sign of him.
Please take our meth to pay our rent. We need this apartment to cook our meth.
Okay, so from 1987 to 1996, my wife and I did property management. In 1986, a Navy buddy and I bought this condemned apartment building by the beach, fixed it up and began renting the units out. Things were good at first, everything was newly renovated, so the apartments went for more compared to other units in the area. Keep in mind, most of these units have not been updated since the 1960s. Now here comes the nightmare tenants from hell, Barbie girl and meth dealer boyfriend. Barbie girl was really a pretty tall blonde and drove a hot blue Camaro. Meth dealer boyfriend was tall, had tattoos everywhere possible on his body and had a tall mohawk. Barbie girl was just raving about the apartment and how she liked it because it was close to the beach. We look over things, she pays me 5 months rent and she moves all of her designer pink furniture in the unit. She was a good tenant at first, but then she called for me to make all kinds of upgrades to her apartment. In one case she wanted me to buy her a microwave, which was super expensive at the time. Her reasoning was,
the other apartment building throw in something when you put that much rent down, so I should get something more.
4 weeks pass, she kept calling for this and other things, I kept telling her no. She thought my no meant yes because she kept getting angry over stuff. I told her that I wasn't going to give her. She then filed a civil suit against me in court for the condition of her apartment. Her attorney took pictures and it was trashed. She said,
he wants me to be homeless, look at the condition of this place.
I then show pictures of the unit before she gained possession of it and the contracting permit that shows that it was recently renovated. The judge ruled in my favor and the case is dismissed. 2 months of this and I've had enough, so I served them eviction papers when their lease is up for their Barbie girl, and now her boyfriend became an increasing problem. The boyfriend moves in and there's not much I can do about it because their rent is paid for another 3 months. The boyfriend tries to better things with me, but I am very dismissive. A month in, I get complaints of chemical smelling odors from the apartment and from the level that they were on. I went to investigate but smell or see nothing. No more complaints, so I continue for another 2 months disregarding it. Mid-July, I am just waiting for August so I can kick them out. At this point I have not seen Barbie girl in months, but her Camaro is still parked out front, so I think that she's in the unit living it up with her boyfriend. I again get complaints from several tenants about a chemical odor smell. A guy that was a mechanic said it smelled like batteries, which I agreed it did. I go over, knock on the door and they don't let me in. I figure they are going to be gone so I can fix the problem later. Well, boyfriend moves his 70-year-old mom into the apartment close before the eviction date. Now in California, eviction can be delayed if a resident is over 65. He played the game so he can get another month for free. Mid-August, the smell is so bad, the tenants are complaining non-stop. I really need to get them out, so I hire a lawyer. He goes over the lease agreement and sees that the boyfriend is not on the lease, only Barbie girl is, and looking through this further, we find that there is a missing persons report for Barbie girl. So we do the logical thing, go to the LAPD, file a report for trespassing, and I give them the information that I haven't seen Barbie girl in months. They go in with a search warrant and Jesus Christ, the place looked like it survived an atomic bomb. The pink furniture that Barbie girl had was brown with yellow stains on it, the paint had faded and the wallpaper was peeling from the walls. Barbie girl became a withered skinny mess, her hair had white patches in it and her skin looked horrid. I assume she was using and the cops found out she was. They get arrested, they are taken away and the mom is put in a care facility. The apartment is sealed off with crime scene tape. I think they made bail because a title loan company came to pick up the Camaro and 8 days later they came back. One of the tenants said that someone was messing with their apartment and it was them. I call the cops to kick them out. They are kicking and screaming about
how dare I kick them out of their home
and how they
promised to be good and if I would take meth to pay rent.
They proceeded to plead and beg,
we need this apartment to cook our meth, please take our meth, just one meth.
They are taken away by the cops and I did hear from them again until a couple of weeks ago because I did not refund Barbie girl's security deposit and she was asking for it so she could get her Camaro back. I told her the apartment is costing around 8 grand to get fixed. She said on the jail phone,
I can give you meth for my deposit.
I hung up the phone and never heard from them again. Well, that is the awful experience that I had with the worst who thought they deserved the best. And you know guys, in life, one thing that I really noticed is that often, more often than not I would say, criminals are the people that know the law the best. A perfect fitting example is the awful boyfriend in the story who lets his poor elderly mom move in just so OP cannot evict them and kick them out. Have you ever noticed something similar in your life? Let me know. Also, in addition, if you enjoy the neighbor stories, please don't forget to like the video and post some star emojis in the comments if you want to support me. Thank you so much in advance. Yeah guys, I was just about to record, but somebody hiding behind the curtain does not want me to record today, right Disney? What do you want to do? Aww. Boop, boop. Right, Disney? What is Disney doing today? Maybe she wants me to scratch her. Because she cannot scratch herself now, so she needs the scratching service. But yeah, she should not scratch herself too much, because otherwise she needs to wear this again. Oh. Right, Disney. Disney, Disney. Such a cutie. But yeah guys, I hope you enjoyed the Disney footage. And I will see you again tomorrow. And ripe stars, with this we have reached the end of the video. However, if you still cannot get enough of my content, then I would highly suggest to check out my endless binge watch playlist, which will soon show up in the left corner of the screen. In addition, I would really appreciate it if you could not only subscribe to the channel, but also turn on the bell notifications, which you can do by clicking on the little bell icon right next to the subscribe button. This will help my channel tremendously, and this will make sure that you don't miss any of my videos. Furthermore, if you want to see additional ripe content that I don't post on YouTube, then I would suggest to head on over to patreon.com/ripeyoutube for more than 50 exclusive videos that you will not see anywhere else. Thank you so much for your amazing daily support, and I hope to see you again tomorrow.